Welcome to Garden Sanity. I'm Laura, and I garden in Zone 7, Southern New Jersey. Last fall, I did two videos, that looks like four. I did two videos where I showed you struggling plants, and I titled it, Can These Plants Be Saved? And it was about transplanting plants in this bed from the front bed and another bed in this backyard that were really struggling. Some had spider mites, some were just not happy. So this is going to be an update on that. And the second video I had done last fall was an emergency pruning on the Limelight Hydrangea tree behind me. And I wanted to show you just how well it rebounded so far this spring. So consider this video, Struggling Plants Saved. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what happened with the Limelight Hydrangea tree last fall and what it looks like today, in particular where all the new growth is occurring. And then I'm going to show you how the struggling plants don't seem to be struggling anymore. And I'll give you a tour of this entire bed and how lush it looks like right now in springtime. And it's good I'm doing it today because take a look at this. These are all of the little pollen fronds that are about to fall from all of the oak trees behind our fence. And let me tell you, that is a clean up in aisle 5 type of situation when that happens. In fact, I did a video a couple years ago showing you just how much work it was to clean up. So before all of that falls down, let me show you how nice this garden bed looks. Boy, I sure hope you can hear all of the birds out this morning. It's just beautiful. So this is the Limelight Hydrangea tree, and I just did some minor pruning on it yesterday because I had done so much last fall. So that's what it looks like. And by the way, the brown you see on the arborvitaes, on the right-hand side of your screen, yeah, that's spider mite damage, and that's an upcoming video. But today, it's good stuff I'm sharing. So one of the first things you'll notice this spring is how empty the lower branches are. Now here is a before from last fall before I did the emergency pruning. And it just wasn't good. And you can, again, watch that video. I'll link to it at the end to show you exactly what happened, what I saw, and why I had to do what I did. And I basically removed a lot of dead growth and dying growth on the shrub. And this is the after, and how much better and cleaned up it looked, even though it looked kind of sparse. But when you look closer at this, what you see is a lot of new growth coming out of the stems down lower. So it's not going to look bare for long. Let me show you up close. So here we are basically about 3 feet up. And you have this beautiful growth right here. And I'm leaving that because what I'm hoping is it becomes a newer, healthy stem. As you can see, the trunk and the stems, like this guy, they're very old. And in fact, we just sawed off some of this yesterday. My husband helped me with that. But what I'm thrilled about is right here, you have new growth. And right here, you have new growth. And we sawed off that part there. But look at this stem that came out. This is a pretty nice stem going all the way up. Very strong and healthy. Now going back down here, just to follow with my eyes, here is a couple of old stems. Nothing seemed to grow back, but I left them last year because I wanted to see what would happen. So happily, new growth is coming from here, and that will be a new stem. And new growth is coming right back here, a little bit of a shadow covering it, but that's going to be a new stem. And I'm leaving this stem right here. And that goes up very nicely. And it's a nice sturdy stem. This isn't a spindly stem. Feels good. So yesterday what we did, and we meaning my husband, is I asked him to saw off these limbs. So that's what we did. We used a Sawzall. And I'll put a link to the tool if you're interested in it, or you're interested in it for a Father's Day gift so your husband can help you. Or if you're more handy with tools than I am, you could get it for yourself. Now this one I cut off last year, but nice growth coming out right below it. See that? So I'm going to leave this for now. Eventually I'll cut that back more, but for now, just let this growth start. Here's another one I cut off last fall. Look at all the new growth coming out. And this is what I expected would happen, is when you prune a tree or you prune a shrub, it encourages the shrub to push out new growth. Now, granted, I was doing this in early fall. It was beginning of September, actually. And that's not really a great time to be pruning for anything. Well, you can prune in the fall. I prefer the spring. So I take that back. Some of you might prefer fall pruning. I prefer the spring just because as the new growth is pushing out, like it is, there's no chance that a freeze is going to come and ruin any of that at all. So that's a good thing. Now I just keep showing you all the new growth coming out of these older stems because that's exactly what I wanted to happen. And that is just great. Now this is another older stem I left last year. And then my husband sawed off the end of that. Now, this is a very old stem, but what you can see is there's new growth happening here, and there's new growth happening here, and down here, and here. So, again, I'm showing you this, and yes, we did saw this off yesterday as well, is I left it to see what would push out in spring. And again, that's another reason why I prefer spring pruning, because when you prune in the springtime, you see where the new growth is coming. And this year especially, I waited until late April to do any pruning because I really wanted to see where the growth was coming from. Most years I would prune, oh geez, even in March. But this year I really wanted to wait because I wanted to see what's growing, what's not growing. And my happiest part, like I said, of this entire tree is down here. Because if I step back a little bit, you see there's not really much growth down here. You know, originally it just looked completely bare. Well, all these are gonna be beautiful new stems. It's really gonna make the tree look a lot fuller. And so I am very hopeful that that is going to fill in the tree nicely. You see this guy waving in the breeze? That's one of those oak fronds I was telling you about. And pretty soon everything is going to be covered with it. So it's nice for me to be able to film this for you today. Now, as for the upper stems, they are all looking absolutely beautiful. I mean, they're all filling in nicely. We just trimmed a little bit off of the tops of all of them. And that's going to be absolutely beautiful. And again, like I said, my hope is that more of these leaves will come out from the older stems. And it remains to be seen if they will. But here's, let me show you this one hopeful sign I have. I hope you can see this okay. This stem right here, if you follow your eyes up, you see how many leaves are coming out from that stem. And it's already a very tall stem. So here's hoping that more of that will happen. All in all, this tree now looks nice and healthy. And also what I did last fall at the base of this tree, and actually throughout the entire bed that I'll show you in a minute, is I removed all of the bark chip mulch. Those bark chips that I thought were so pretty and decorative were just a pain in the butt. And they drove me nuts, and I don't think they helped the soil much at all. So I removed all of those. I put down a layer of composted cow manure all throughout the bed. I put a little bit of fertilizer down on the struggling plants and the limelight tree, and then used shredded leaves from our own backyard. We just shredded them up in a little shredder that we have. Actually, it's a big shredder. And I showed you that in a video as well last fall, and it's, I think, really going to help this bed because now it's just all nutrients and good soil that's going to help this bed. So that is the Limelight Hydrangea Tree successful this spring after last fall's emergency pruning. Now let me show you some of the other formerly struggling plants. So here's what the bed looked like last fall before I added any of the struggling plants and redid the mulch and whatnot. And here's what the bed looked like afterwards once those plants were in. And now I'll show you what all I added and how they're doing. And are they struggling? 90% they're doing well. So the first plant I'm going to show you is a plant hopefully you'll never see again. This is a dwarf burning bush, and I completely plan to take this out in the spring now. So we'll be taking that out soon and replacing it with something much better. Burning bush can be invasive in some parts of the country, and it just puts out too many seedlings. It's not a native plant. It has beautiful color in the fall. Time to go. I have a lot of daffodils in this bed. Of course, the majority of them are past their prime, so I deadheaded all of them. And there's a link above where you can see exactly how to deadhead your daffodils. It's a good thing to do so that the energy is not put into the budding bulb, so to speak, the budding seed head that's developing on the daffodils as they die. The energy you just want from the sun going right into the stems and leaves. That's it. So that's why you deadhead. I'm going to show you a beautiful bit of spring. Look at this Brunnera. This is Jack of Diamonds Brunnera, and if you can find this at the garden center, buy it. It has beautiful leaves that are, it's like they're silvery green leaves with deep veins. So beautiful, but it's the little flowers that are incredible. Now, you can see this patch of daffodils is past its prime, unfortunately. It was a beautiful sight, but only a few of the flowers were blooming at the same time that the daffodils were blooming. So what's nice is the daffodils are done, but look at this color that I still have in this spot. Now, I had one last year. I added another and I moved the original one because I thought they needed a better spot. So here they are at the front of the bed, towards the edge is what I mean. And I think they'll have more room to thrive here, especially on one of the hydrangeas which I planted last fall. I mean, look at those flowers. Gorgeous. And look at the leaves. So buy this plant. Seriously, it grows well. You don't have to do much with it. It's just a happy plant in the right conditions. Give it more shade than sun. Make sure it's moist to average water. And it'll reward you with not only these beautiful flowers in the springtime, but beautiful leaves that'll just keep growing and growing all season long into the fall. Now the next plant, this is a Firelight Hydrangea, and this, I already have one in a different bed back here, but this was one that was up front and just decimated by spider mites. I didn't even know what it was right away. It was awful. But look at it now. You got growth coming up from the bottom, and you have just a beautifully lush, lots of new growth shrub. How's that for proper English? But just look at this new growth coming out. It looks so darn healthy. I am so relieved. So this is going to be a beautiful plant to have back here, and it's got enough room to grow and shoot up and look beautiful. And down here in the dappled sunlight, Candy Love hellebores, still blooming since February. Just beautiful. I have 3 of them here. There's another one there. Now they used to be surrounding a redbud stick. Those of you that have been with me for a while will remember the unfortunate redbud bare root tree that never grew beyond a stick. So this is what I put in its place is the Firelight Hydrangea. A lot better choice. And there's another Candy Love hellebore right there. The bees have been so happy having the hellebores here in the early spring. This is one of the 2 dwarf English boxwoods that I have. There's one there, and there's one there. I have a video from last spring called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly about pruning these boxwoods. Here's a picture just to show you what they once looked like. Yeah, it was bad, but I gave them a hard pruning. This one is almost, pardon the fire whistle in the background, this one is almost filled in. So this one is doing great, and I'll just jump ahead over here to this one. This one is completely full. Again, nice to see. Now in between the 2 boxwoods, what I planted for a heucherella and a heuchera. This is Capture the Flag heucherella. And this is a recent introduction from Walter's Gardens and Proven Winners. And I moved this from another bed where it was struggling. So again, a struggling plant from last season. And it's doing nicely here. And you can see right there, just going to start with its white flowers. But this should do wonderfully well here. Again, this bed stays moist to average. The sun is primarily morning sun. So it should be very happy here. And I put him next to prom dress heuchera. Now look at how ruffled these leaves are. Oh my goodness. You could see this on a prom dress, I suppose. I'm a little bit a little old for that, but I can remember. But look how beautiful. The color is predominantly a purple, but here's a picture from last fall where it takes on almost a reddish purple cast. And if you don't have a ton of snow, we normally don't, but we did this past year, these do stay and keep their color kind of an evergreen, I guess you could say more of an ever purple red color in the wintertime, which is absolutely beautiful. But this year they were covered with snow quite a bit. And just as an FYI, the heucherella, this one developed a beautiful reddish color in the wintertime, which was so different from what it looks like now. Just beautiful. Now, the prom dress heuchera is new this year, 2025, from Proven Winners. So if you can get this plant at your garden center, I would get it because it's a very healthy heuchera. It's going to have beautiful flowers. I will keep you posted when this gets to blooming so you can see exactly what it looks like, but absolutely beautiful. This is a Poco Loco Abelia that I planted last fall. This color is the color that it puts out in the spring. It's like a bright yellow. It's so pretty. And then the color will deepen slightly in the summertime, and it has beautiful tiny little flowers. In fact, I even had some last fall. Now this looks a lot smaller than when I first planted it, and that's because there's a lot of dieback on it. You can kind of see some of the stems sticking out. So I tried to clean it up as best I could, and I'm looking forward to it being just fine as the season goes on. And then behind the Abelia, you have more daffodils that have finished up. And you have what you can barely see here is a Legend of the Small Fothergilla. And it's got one tiny bloom. So I do see some buds on here. I don't see much. But again, this was beyond struggling in the circle bed where I had planted it. It needs more moisture, and it will definitely get it in this bed. So when I say 90% of the plants look good, this will be in the 10%, and I'm hopeful for it to get better. This is another hydrangea that I transplanted that was struggling in the front yard. This is another little quickfire. And let me show you what's really special about this one. Look at all that growth down there. That is all coming out from the ground, especially right there. So the middle of the plant that I thought was dead has new growth coming out of it. And the stems that survived, not all of them did. I had to cut back quite a few dead stems. But the ones that remain are nice and thick, and they have healthy growth coming out of them. So I think this guy is going to be just fine. And again, much happier, especially because I already have 4 other little quickfires in this bed. Now behind the little quickfire, as I step into the bed, is this guy. And this guy is 90% sure he's a quickfire, so he will be taller than the little quickfire. Now I bought him as a quickfire, but just as I was about to plant him, this was about 3 years ago, I noticed that the tag said one thing and the pot said another, as you can see here. So Proven Winners couldn't really help me. They said obviously someone messed up somewhere, so we didn't know which type of plant it was. So it's growing very well. It was in a pot for 2 years till I figured out where to put it. And then I decided last fall, since I was planting all kinds of transplants that were struggling, I put this here. It wasn't struggling, it was actually thriving in a pot. So if it is a quickfire, it has enough room to grow nice and tall. So not worried about that. So now I'm going to curve around the bed. And what you do see down here, very tiny, is a peppermint patty Bergenia. That's just starting to come out, but this really got beat up by the snow in the wintertime. So here's hoping it'll start doing much better this season. This is, again, in the 10% that might still be struggling. This is a Perfectamundo double white azalea from Proven Winners, and it struggled for 2 seasons, 2 years actually, in the circle bed. I think it was not getting enough water, getting too much sun. Again, this bed will get mostly morning sun, so I think it'll be much happier because it was just too hot in the heat of the summer, which makes sense, right? It would be too hot in the heat of the summer. So all of these little things you see, those are actually buds, and let's hope it all blooms. I'm putting this in the 10% because it sure as heck doesn't look like a beautiful big azalea that you would expect to see after a few years in the ground. But I'm hopeful because some of the newer growth actually looks really healthy. Let me show you how beautiful the Amsonia storm cloud is. The blue on the Amsonia storm cloud is just incredible. Now this shrub, this one, is a little bit not as, robust as I would hope to see it, but that's okay. Again, I think once I improved the soil last fall, I think that's really going to help out all the plants in this bed this year. And in fact, I digress because I forgot to show you the other Legend of the Small Father Gilla that I transplanted. This one, I don't know if I'd put it in the 10%. I'll put it in the 90% that's doing great because as you can see, there's a few flower buds just starting to open on it. And so I think it's doing much better than the other one I showed you. And so I'm happy with that too. Again, it'll do much better here. And let me show you the color on this one. Isn't that magnificent? Such a soft, intense blue. And that's the best way I can describe it. It's a soft blue, but the color is so saturated. It is stunning. Isn't that amazing? The leaves are a beautiful dark green. They open up almost an olive black color when they come up from the ground. It's really fascinating. And then they turn into this olive green. They'll brighten up a little bit during the season. And once they're done blooming, it's become a beautiful green backdrop to any other flowers you have in front of it. And in front of the Amsonia storm cloud, these are 2 shooting star hellebores. Again, full bloom since February. And then this is a Mediterranean pink heath. And I'm going to put on the screen what this looked like when, let's see, in 2023. It was very small. And what's nice about it is you see it still has its beautiful pink color, almost like a lavender. My favorite is Kramer's Red if you're looking for very vibrant color, but this Mediterranean pink is a very close second. It looks stunning in the winter landscape. And then right here is a pufferfish hydrangea. Again, looking beautiful. I planted this, I think this will be its 2nd full season in the ground. And so it's still being established. So next to the pufferfish, I planted this last fall and I showed you exactly how to plant it and how to care for it, is a Pinky Winky Prime hydrangea. This is a newer form of Pinky Winky put out by Proven Winners. And the minute I saw one on sale, I had to buy it because I have 4 Pinky Winky shrubs in the front that if you've watched my videos again, you know I absolutely adore these plants. It's probably my favorite hydrangea. So Pinky Winky Prime looks to be like it may come in second or it may come in first. We'll see. But these supposedly have more intense pink and white blooming. These are going to be a more intense pink color. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, what this did is replaced the lavender chiffon Rosa Sharon I had here that I just wasn't happy with. I tried being happy with it for years and I just gave up. So stepping back a bit, what's really funny about this is when I was planting the shrub last fall, I did run into a few daffodils I was digging up. But originally when I planted the Rosa Sharon, I surrounded it with daffodils because rabbits kept eating the Rosa Sharon. So I'm amazed that all these daffodils still remain despite my digging up a new shrub and planting a new shrub. So This is really great. I'm thrilled with this. And then what you have in the back of this bed, so to speak, are 4 little quickfire hydrangeas. 3 of them are a really good size, and this 4th one over here, he just he's taking his time. But he'll get there. I'm determined that he will get there. There was quite a bit of dead growth I had to take off of this one, so give him some extra TLC this year. Now, in between the little quickfires, what I planted were, again, struggling plants from another bed that I hope don't struggle anymore. This plant is a Perfectamundo pink carpet azalea, and it really doesn't look like it's a carpet, does it? If it was a carpet, you wouldn't buy it. So we do have 1 pink blossom that's starting, and we do have healthier looking new growth. And there's a couple of buds on this as well. So I'm hopeful for this one. I will keep it in the 10% for now. This is another pink carpet azalea. Somehow daffodils came up all around it. I don't know how I planted it and didn't dig up daffodil bulbs, but there you have it. And again, it has some pink buds coming out, which is wonderful. And then this one I would put in the 10%. Again, it looks primarily, you know, like little sticks down here. However, that is a beautiful pink flower that is going to open up hopefully this week. So again, I have this one in the 10% category, but I think going through a summer, having much more shade than sun, it was getting baked in the circle bed. These definitely need more shade in my climate, I think. I'm in zone 7, and that's my experience so far. But I love those plants. I bought them because I just was fascinated by having a ground cover carpet azalea, which is really a new concept for azaleas. So I'm determined that they grow. So that takes us back to where we started with this burning bush that's going to come out. No, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to put in here. I may just take it out and then just give it a season to think about. I'm not sure. It feels great. I'm doing much better. I still have good days and bad days, but the garden has been so healing for me. And I absolutely am so happy that I can share all of this with you again. So I think I can say now with about 90% certainty that these plants are no longer struggling. The struggling plants have been saved. So watch these 2 videos next. One is on the emergency pruning I did last fall, and it'll show you exactly more in depth how bad the tree was and why I had to do what I did. And the other video is the can these plants be saved? And you'll see just exactly how sad some of these looked and why I transplanted them. And thankfully today I showed you a good result. So until next time, happy gardening.